Boker Tov, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the Kabbalah Café for this week of Erev Shabbat Parashat Korach. Today is also Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month of Tammuz, a very special month. And it's the month which has within it some special dates. Number one, Gimel Tammuz is the day that the previous Rebbe was informed that he was not going to have a death sentence. It's also the day of the Rebbe's passing 27 years ago. It's also the month of Yud Bet and Yud Gimel Tammuz, the 12th and the 13th of Tammuz, when the previous Rebbe actually went out of jail. And also Yud Zayin Tammuz, beginning of the 3-week period when the Betamikdash was about to be destroyed. The city of Yerushalayim, which we are in right now, unfortunately, the walls were broken into, and the siege was broken, and it was 3 weeks before Tisha B'Av, which marked the destruction of both Betamikdash, both temples of Hashem. Rosh Chodesh is a very special time in general, and we say the Hallel together in Shul. We sing beautiful songs, and Rosh Chodesh Tammuz is extra special because it's an opportunity for us to think about and talk about what is the meaning of the month of Tammuz. For centuries, even 2 millenniums at least, the month of Tammuz was considered a very sad month because it marked the beginning of the destruction of the Betamikdash. But all of a sudden, over the past 90 years, since the Chag HaGeula, the month of redemption of the previous Rebbe, which was on Yud Beit Tammuz, it became a happy month. So how do we balance the two between, on one hand, it's a sad month, and on the other hand, it's a happy month? The answer is that even when there is sadness and mourning in Judaism, it's not real sadness. It's not real mourning. What is it? It's just mourning on the external part of it. But internally, in the real meaning, it's really not sad. Because in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, there is no scenario of sadness. There is only inner happiness. Sometimes the happiness is also revealed, but sometimes it's only inside, it's only concealed. For example, the moment after the Betamikdash was destroyed, there was a cow that mooed, as we are told, as our sages teach us. And it was explained that what was the sign that Hashem was telling us that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. The moment later, the cow mooed again, and that was a signal that the Redeemer of Am Yisrael has now been born. So hand in hand, together with the fact that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, there was also the birth of Mashiach, at least on a spiritual level. So there's no such thing as real destruction. there's no such thing as only mourning without any sense of a new beginning, a new excitement, a new page. As we get closer to the coming of Mashiach, we start revealing within different unfortunate scenarios of the past, we start revealing goodness, holiness, and happiness. So therefore, the Rebbe explains that even this month of Tammuz, which was classically, traditionally known as being a sad month, nevertheless, now we have an opportunity to reveal the positive approach of Yiddishkeit. Now we're going to connect this to the Parsha. A beautiful concept. But before we do that, I want to thank Gershom and Rachel Dandy for sponsoring today's Kabbalah Café, and I want to dedicate it in their honor. Gershom and Rachel are such great friends of Chabad of Rechavia, and we look forward to seeing you back here in Yerushalayim very, very soon. And I want to thank Raya and Mordechai for broadcasting this shiur. And so we talk about the chutzpah of Korach and how Korach stood up against Moshe Rabbeinu. What was one of the things that he said against Moshe? He said, "You are the one who decided for yourself that you should be the leader of Am Yisrael and that your brother Aaron should be the Cohen Gadol." Korach was a Levi. He was from the same family. He was a cousin of Moshe and Aaron. He said, "You took all of the big jobs for yourself and you left everyone else without anything." It's almost as if he's talking about the Knesset members and politicians in 2021 in general. But obviously, where he went wrong was that he was supposed to understand, he was expected to understand that Moshe Rabbeinu does not do things on his own. Moshe Rabbeinu only does things only when Hashem tells him to do so. So, for centuries and even a few millennium, Korach has been viewed in a negative way. And we can very much understand that. He did one of the most terrible things in history, in the sense that a Jewish person, a Talmud Chacham, a Torah scholar, from the same family as Moshe Rabbeinu, goes ahead and does something so blatantly against Moshe. Comes along Chassidut, and with the Rebbe's amazing interpretation, and tries to reveal to us something positive about Korach. Wow, how could that be? And this is how it's possible to be. Did you ever hear the joke about the person that came to the rabbi and said, "I want to be a Cohen"? He says, "I'm sorry, I can't make you a Cohen." He said, "I'll give you $1,000. "Sorry, sir, doesn't make a difference how much money you give me. $50,000. $100,000. He said, "I'm very sorry, I cannot make you a Cohen." By the way, the rabbi asks him, "Why do you want to be a Cohen so badly? What's wrong with how Hashem made you?" He said, "I'll tell you. Because my father was a Cohen, and my grandfather was a Cohen, so I also want to be a Cohen." Korach was a Levi. He was a Levite. Korach wanted to be a Cohen. Why did he want to be a Cohen? So there are a number of explanations. One explanation is because to be a Cohen is a very high level, and it's a great zechut, it's a great honor. So it wasn't enough for him to be a Levi, he also wanted to be a Cohen. But then there's another point. When Mashiach comes, every single Jew will be a Cohen. Actually, we are Kohanim in a sense. We are. It says right before we got the Torah, Hashem told Moshe to tell Am Yisrael, "Ve'atem tiyu li mamlechet Kohanim v'goy kadosh," and you shall be for me a kingdom of Kohanim, of priesthood, and a holy nation. So in essence, we really are Kohanim, but obviously, practically speaking, we're not Kohanim because we don't. Only a Cohen, someone that comes from the lineage of Aaron a Cohen can be the Pinchas, can be a Cohen. But everyone else is just a regular Yisrael or a Levi. But when Mashiach will come, we are all going to be on the level of not only a Cohen, but a Cohen Gadol, the high priest. Before Mashiach comes and we have the Betamikdash, one person of all of the nation of Am Yisrael is allowed to go into the holiest place once a year on Yom Kippur, and that is the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, that's allowed to go into the Kodesh HaKadashim, to the Holy of Holies. But when Mashiach comes, we are all going to be on the level of Kohen Gadol. Yes, you heard correctly. And we are all going to be able to go into the Kodesh HaKadashim, into the Holy of Holies, not only on Yom Kippur, but every day of the year. Wow, that seems very, very exciting and very inspiring. We should all want to be Kohanim. We should all want to be a Kohen Gadol. Nevertheless, right now, we're not on that level yet. So according to the teachings of Chassidut, Korach wanted to be a Cohen. He wanted to be already in the era, in the Messianic era. He was so excited. So what's the problem? The problem is that it wasn't the right time. Or better yet, he didn't do it in the right way. What should he have done? He should have, obviously, number one, not gone against Moshe. And number two, to give a big lecture to Am Yisrael in the Midbar, in the desert, and to explain to them how it's going to be when Mashiach comes, and to encourage them to desire for a higher level of spirituality. He should strengthen their emunah, their faith in the coming of Mashiach. That would have been wonderful. The problem is that he took it too far. It's almost as if, God forbid, someone would say that they want Mashiach so much to come that they're going to act like in the Messianic era. For example, God forbid, not to fast on Tisha B'Av. Before Mashiach comes, as much as we want Mashiach to come, we have to fast on Tisha B'Av. In a sense, it's the most severe fast. If you want to live with Mashiach, I have another idea for you. I have a different suggestion for you. You know the keynote? The little booklet that we read, the Eicha, Lamentations on Tisha B'Av, or all of the piyutim, all the paragraphs of crying for the destruction of Yerushalayim and the Betamikdash. and the mourning of Am Yisrael for this pain and suffering that we've had throughout the generations that we read on Tisha B'Av morning, when you're finished reading it, put it away in the Geniza. Put it away in the place, the special place that we bury. We put away holy words, books and papers which has Hashem's name on it, or Torah was learned. Put it in the Geniza, because you're so sure that Mashiach is going to come today and before next year Tisha B'Av. That's fine. That's a nice way to believe in Mashiach. And that's a nice way to wait for Mashiach. But we're not allowed to make up our own Yiddishkeit. We're not allowed to make up our own way of leading our lives. So Korach, his heart was in the right place, but his mouth was definitely not. So what do we learn from here? We learn from here a couple of things. First of all, we learn how our hearts need to be in the right place. We need to desire very strongly to be connected to Hashem, to be elevated, and to want Mashiach's coming immediately, if not sooner. We also learn how to take a person who, for a very long time, was viewed as being negative, and all of a sudden we have a new perspective. In other words, revealing what's beneath the surface. Just like we talked about Tammuz, that for a very long time we viewed Tammuz as being a very sad month. And it's our challenge to uncover the peel, uncover the covering. Reveal that which is beneath the surface. So too, this is how we need to act also when it comes to one person with another. When we come in contact with someone and we see that perhaps they are not doing the right thing as far as Avodat Hashem and service of Hashem, instead of judging them that based on what we saw they did something wrong, we need to judge them favorably. This is not just something from the Mishnah that we learned in Pirkei Avot, some theoretical thing. This is very, very practical, very, very realistic. We have to practice doing our best to reveal the best in everyone. And by divine providence, as we said, that Tammuz is the month of the Rebbe's yard site. It's going to be tomorrow night and Sunday. And I want to thank everybody for joining us last night for the amazing Farbrengen from Rabbi Manis Friedman, together with all of the other Shluchim and Batei Chabad from all around Israel, for all of the English speakers across Israel. And Be'ezrat Hashem, on Sunday, we're going to have another Farbrengen Sunday evening for Hebrew speakers. And you're welcome to come and join us on Sunday evening at Chorev at 8 o'clock, the Chorev Shul, right around the corner from Chabad. And this is something which is so special that not only the Rebbe emphasized so much in his teachings, but actually in his own actions also revealed by every single Jew the deep neshama that the person has, not looking necessarily at the person's actions, rather to look at who the person is in their being, in their essence. Speaking about a Cohen, this is an interesting story that I want to share with you. And when I was 13 years old, I remember when the story happened. My friend, I'm from Toronto, my friend was from Israel, and he was my classmate in grade 8, our bar mitzvah year. And he told me the story that had happened not long before then. He was not a Chabadnik, but the story had happened here in Israel. There was a person who had been married for 10 years, and there is such a concept, and he had asked the Rebbe for a bracha for children. And the Rebbe said he'd gone around to different tzaddikim around America and also in Eretz Yisrael and asked for a bracha for children. Him and his wife had been married for 10 years, and there is such a concept in halacha that if someone is married for 10 years, then they are allowed to, and of course, and they did not have children, they're allowed to divorce and marry someone else. Maybe they'll both have the zechut of having children. There are some that do that, there are some that don't, but let's move on and talk about the story. And so this guy was not a Chabadnik, and he went to some other Torah scholars, and one of them told him that they should divorce. So they divorced, and a short while after they divorced, the wife got a report that she's pregnant. And under regular circumstances, they would have remarried, because it's a mitzvah actually to remarry someone that, if someone divorced a woman, it's a mitzvah to remarry her, unless he already married someone else in the meantime. But if he already married someone else and then she passed away or they divorced, he's not allowed to remarry his first wife. But the problem is that this person was a Cohen, and a Cohen is not allowed to marry a divorcee. And they were both devastated to no end. He was especially devastated that he didn't listen to the Rebbe, that the Rebbe told him not to divorce. The Rebbe told him to stay married, gave him a bracha, and that they would have children. And so, embarrassingly, he went back to the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe the scenario of what had happened. And the Rebbe said one short statement: speak to your mother. So he left the dollars, and he didn't understand, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China, to speak to my mother? But it turns out that he went to speak to his mother. His mother was very frail, soon before she passed away, and she told him that he is adopted, and she had never revealed to him that he was adopted. His adoptive father was a Cohen, but he was not a real Cohen. And thereby, the Rebbe saved him, saved the family. They were able to be remarried again, and they lived happily ever after. It's a nice story about the Rebbe, number one. And number two, about the subject of being a Cohen, how precious and meaningful it is to be a Cohen, and of course to be able to bring peace amongst people, peace amongst couples, and peace amongst families. And Bezrat Hashem, we should merit to have a good month, a good Chodesh, a month of redemption, a month of Geula, and Bezrat Hashem, we should be able to already be today in the Betamikdash, doing all of the korbanot that the Kohanim would bring, as we talk about in this week's Parsha, about the special gifts of the Kohuna, the special gifts of the priesthood, and the specialty of the Leviim, which are also the tribe of Moshe Rabbeinu, and also of Korach. We should all have a great Shabbat, and please join us tonight for a special mincha at 7:20, and then tomorrow morning Chassidut at 9 o'clock. 9:30 is davening, and after davening we're having a special meal, not just a regular kiddush, but a special meal in honor of being the Shabbos before Gimel Tammuz, the Rebbe's yahrzeit. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great Shabbat.